Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 8 of the Envy Simsports International Sports Car Challenge, sponsored by WBM Racing. That is We Build Memories. My name is Daniel Zippy Salmon, and joining me in the booth today, we have Mr. Rob the Goatee Campbell. And not only that, we have a special guest commentator today. We have Dylan Newhart making his debut as a pit lane commentator as well. So, a huge warm welcome to Dylan. But, Rob, I've got to say, it's good to be back here with the Envy Simsports International Sports Car Challenge. And certainly, Suzuka is definitely one of the tracks that I know that you know. I think it may be on your Princess approved list, certainly not on mine, but I will say it is one of my somewhat competent tracks.
Yeah, well, your competent tracks list is a little lacking there, Zippy. But
But
Suzuka is, it's one of those tracks I have a love-hate relationship with. I love seeing it on a schedule. I love racing it, but it seems to hate me back as far as results. But generally, it lends itself to some great racing, and I suspect we'll see more of the same. We've seen some great weeks up to this point, being week 8 in the International Sports Car Series here, so I expect more of the same. Looks like we've got a lower field turnout as far as the GTP category goes, but we've got a couple more GT3s here than the last couple weeks. So the lack of GTPs will be rounded out by the additional GT3s here tonight.
well, certainly it looks like all of those guys are indeed going to get on the podium. But speaking of schedule, Rob, let's take a look, see where we've been and where we're going. So we started at the best track on the planet, ladies and gentlemen, at Road Atlanta, with round 2 taking us to Sebring. Certainly, Rob, not a big fan of that, watching his race from earlier. Round 3 took us to Daytona, with round 4 having us very quickly there at Watkins Glen. As you see here, we enter the later part of the season, Road America for last week, Suzuka this week, and then we head to another Princess approved track of Spa before heading to Aragon, Imola, and closing out at Fuji, one of those Japanese tracks. But Rob, maybe we should take a quick look at the championship points as well.
No doubt, Zippy. Let's take a quick look here first at the GTP standings. We've got Alberto Alvarez leading the way. He is here tonight in the GTP field at 149 points, just ahead of Jordan Boisvert at second at 112. He's only 6 points up of Morgan Smith, who's in the field, so Morgan will be trying to snatch away some points from Jordan to close that gap. And Ethan Reed in fourth, he's in the field too as well. So definitely an opportunity for Ethan and Morgan to make a move on Jordan. Parker Dime, Wyatt Hudo, and Tyler Watson don't look like they're going to join us here this evening. But Zippy, here's a look at the GT3 standings for you.
Yeah, Parker Dime's probably babysitting or something like that. But you see, Michael Morbedo, he's one of the new WBM recruits. Fair to say, if you're leading a championship, that's a good way to get invited to probably one of the best community sim racing teams on the planet. Certainly, WBM, We Build Memories. Definitely, we do need to get some shots of that merchandise later. Rob, I'll try and get you some screenshots of that as well. Please remind me. But you see, Morbedo is out in front with 131 points. Pino in second. But Malik Bass, he's been getting increasingly better. Actually, won last week as well. Fantastic stuff from that Corvette. He's there in third with Pedro Luis da Silva in fourth, and Kyle Mills, certainly one of the best interviews we've done here on Pit Road Productions. It very much stuck in my mind. He's there in fifth. But then if you look at sixth, you got an absolutely fantastic battle. Chris Rice and Javi Sierra tied on 53 points. As you know, if you're wondering, 53, the number for Carlos Sainz, I believe, and also the number of Herbie. By all means, correct me if I'm wrong. It might not be Carlos Sainz' number. Sure many people will crucify me for that, but you have a look a bit further down, you got your Cup 3, he's there 37 points, close battle there, 2 points in between himself and Steve Susanna, with Brad Mueller closing out the top 10.
Yeah, we've got tight battles all throughout this GT3 standings, Zippy. So interesting to see. It's been fun to watch. We've had almost a different driver leading the way around each week. So it's been a very competitive series to this point, and expect more of the same tonight. As qualifying is just clicking over and finishing up, we'll have a look here shortly of how the grid's going to stack up once timing and scoring kicks over, and there it is.
Oh, as you can see here, the GTP field, just 3 cars here present today. I got to say, the GTP field, it was a little bit smaller at the start, but certainly I'm going to call out a couple of these guys. Tyler Watson in particular. Where are you, bud? You should be here in this field. But Alberto Alvarez is going to take the lead with Ethan Reed in second and Morgan Smith in third. So again, fair play. These guys are all going to get a podium, with Michael Morbedo leading the GT3 field and the championship. Daniel Pino in second, Malik Bass in third. Javi Sierra takes fourth with Pedro da Silva on row 3. With Austin Diltz alongside, obviously Austin not got the baby tonight. Guillermo Pare and one of the newcomers here, he's there in 7th alongside Kyle Mills in 8th, and closing out your top 10 is going to be Steve Susanna and Patrick Rich.
And then we're going to find Michael Manarino in 11th. Chris Rye is going to start beside him in 12th. Justin Lewis in 13th, Bell Gable in 14th, Kevin Genberg 15th, Bernardo Drogmuller in 16th, Fozzie Fuzillo in 17th, Michael Salgado. I believe that's a new name, Zippy. I'm not recognizing that one, so welcome, Matthew Salgado. Jakob Fury in 19th, Joseph Kronk in 20th, and the tail of the field.
Oh, definitely a very potent GT3 field there. But I do understand that Dylan, you was doing some practice laps here at Suzuka earlier. Why don't you give us your potentially your strategy or some tips that you picked up driving some laps of this track?
Yeah, so at the start of the race, if I'm in a GT3 personally, I'm trying to get a little bit of clean air. Up through the S's are going to be a really differentiating factor between drivers, as the weight transfer, very easy to understeer the car. And then after that, just holding pace, keeping it consistent. It's a longer race, and then when the try and force the GTP drivers around where you want them to go, not to lose too much time, and just hold a consistent pace throughout the race.
Well, certainly multi-class racing does indeed bring its challenges, albeit that being a very, very small GTP field. And I got to admit, I think the tyre model is a big part of that as well. Certainly with the new tyre model, it's become very, very, for lack of a better word, sketchy on the cold tyres. Especially in some wet conditions, it can almost feel like the GT3s can actually outbrake these prototypes. Certainly, Rob, you know a bit more about that. Maybe you could expand on that, actually.
Yeah, and the slow corners, the GT3s can actually get in and out of the corner a little quicker than the LMP GTP cars can. So you see at the start of the race until the GTPs really get their tire temps up to where they want them to be, the GT3s can really take advantage of that. Even when we see them overtaking the back half of the GT3 field, you'll see where there's some corners where the GTP will come up on them real quick, and then they'll have to kind of wait a little bit exiting the corner to make the rest of the move around the GT3 field. Especially in the rain, it's really prevalent. But with the three cars we have here tonight, I think they won't have a whole lot of trouble making their way through the GT3 field. But we're into the final couple corners here. Zippy, Alberto Alvarez leading them around behind the Porsche pace car into, I believe, what they call Casio corner for all those old school Casio watch fans. There's a whole corner named after it in Suzuka here. You can see the debris on track been kicked up from qualifying. Shouldn't play much of a role once the race gets underway. It's quite a bit off the track here, but pace car ducking in, and we're about to go green.
Well, it is indeed going to be a very fun race. You see Alberto Alvarez holding it for now. He's holding it and he's getting ready to go. I do believe these guys do have a start zone in session, and you're going to see them get ready to go. They're still holding on. Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very late start. The lights are out, and green, 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 go, baby, go, as Alberto Alvarez puts the hammer down. Ethan Reed there, making a move up on the inside. Morgan Smith hanging out there in third, looking Woody applying pressure there to the back of Ethan Reed in the 22 car as Alberto Alvarez makes a clean break. As we're going to check in here with the GT3 field, and already I'm seeing a black flag from Michael Manarino in the 666.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Michael would have got a black flag for early on here, but we are now green in the GT3 field. Michael Morbetto going to lead them into turn one. Daniel Pino tucked in behind. We haven't seen Daniel Pino up towards the front in qualifying the last couple of weeks. Started the season, he was kind of dominant the first three legs, and then the rest of the class kind of caught up to him, Zippy. They caught on to his fuel-saving strategy. They were able to reel him back in, but right now Morbetto going to lead the way over Pino, Bass, Javi Sierra, and Pedro da Silva going to round out our top five.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure why Manarino has a black flag either. Maybe something to do with the start procedure. I'm not sure. Maybe it's been an admin-induced black flag, but certainly I don't think they have live race control. Certainly penalties tend to occur afterwards. We see Austin Diltz applying a lot of pressure to Pedro da Silva in front. It is indeed McLaren versus Ferrari. And actually, one of the drivers was saying that the McLaren almost feels like it's a little bit overpowered at times. She's got so much power on the straights. And certainly, I got to say, it's looking fantastic here. Morgan Smith doing a fantastic job of those paint jobs. The WBM guys very much recognizable and very very grateful as well that he did indeed give these guys a good mix up of colors. As you see here, WBM are resting in third, fifth, seventh, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th, and first as well, actually, as well. Michael Morbetto being part of that team as well now.
Yeah, a little team-on-team bump there as Kyle Mills gives Austin Diltz a little boop into the corner, trying to get him a little closer to Pedro da Silva up ahead, but didn't quite work out. But yeah, the paints are fabulous. We see week in, week out. Seems like they have multiple different color variations to pick from. We've got, looks like Kyle Mills and I believe Malik Bass. They're both running the red and white paint scheme, and then Austin Diltz in the purple and white. I believe Morgan Smith is going with the green and black here this evening on his GTP car. So definitely one of the better looking grids out of all the leagues we cover.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, I do start to wonder what the guy's underwear drawer looks like. He's obviously a very flamboyant person, and I don't think a set of tidy whities is going to rock it for him. He's definitely no Alan Harper, more of a, well, I wouldn't say he's a Charlie Sheen either, but maybe a little bit of Ozzy Osbourne, a little bit of punk rocker in there. And I know his missus is watching this. Maybe she can verify just how vibrant the guy's underwear is. Certainly, we are absolutely roasting his nuts at this point. Not literally, but certainly having a bit of fun with it. We're checking in a battle here in for P13. It's between Bale Gable and Tristan Lewis.
Yeah, Belgable putting some pressure on Tristan Lewis, and just in behind them, Bernardo Drogmiller trying to get involved in this battle in the Castrol paint scheme. We've got a car that drives a similar paint scheme on the Tuesday. Oh, Drogmiller goes into Lewis as Lewis got a little unsettled there, had to gather the car up, and Drogmiller came in there like a wrecking ball, kind of like Miley Cyrus, and just kind of shoved him out to the side. But what I was saying with the Castrol paint scheme, it's kind of reminiscent of the old Japanese touring car series, the supercar series, where the old Acuras used to run that paint scheme, and it was one of my favorite paint schemes back in the day. So I love anytime somebody throws that on their car, Zippy. I can't help but reminisce.
Oh, for sure, it's definitely one with a little bit of nostalgia. Certainly, you are indeed old enough to have nostalgia there, Rob. Myself, a little bit. I remember that paint scheme. If you're thinking of like a Castrol paint scheme, I remember it back in Gran Turismo 3 with like the Tom Supra as well. Now, Dylan definitely a little bit on the younger side. I don't think he was maybe born when Gran Turismo 3 came out. Maybe I'm just being a little bit usual. You know, stranger things are happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. But you see Michael Morbedo currently in the lead, and he has roughly about half a second gap ahead of Daniel Pino. But certainly, which laps did you do here in GT3 there, Dylan?
I was driving the Corvette. My Rumble GT3 was a little bit squirrely under some of the S's and some of the off-camera corners, but it was a little bit more difficult. I would definitely, if I were to drive this, I would definitely go with a more stable car like the Porsche or the BMW or something of that nature.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, certainly the Corvette not on the Princess approved list for Dylan Newhart at this point, but right now Fozzie Fazillo, it looks like he's got an opportunity here against Kevin Gettenberg, the 7-up machine. Fair to say, I wonder if he's got a bit of vodka in that Porsche. That would definitely make it a much more interesting drive. Not that we encourage or condone such antics, ladies and gentlemen, but if you're going to drink and drive, a golf course or the sim is probably a good place to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Not that you heard that from us, but you see Fozzie Fazillo in the 61 machine, the best coloured wheels on the grid. Not that I'm biased at all, I've always wanted bronze wheels and I've not yet made it happen. But I do actually see as well, Michael Morbedo, I don't know if you're getting the same on your end as well as Fazillo's gone round.
Yeah, Fazillo pushing hard. That McLaren, you mentioned it early on, Zippy, that some drivers have reported back. A little hard to handle out of a corner, getting heavy into the throttle. You can lose the back end. And we just saw kind of bite Fozzie Fazillo there in the S's at Suzuka, area of the track where if you don't have the back end locked in behind you, you can suffer the same thing that just happened with Fozzie Fazillo. But I'm having a look here. Looks like got a number of drivers off track. Matthew Salgado, one of our new drivers this week, looks like something happened to him early on. I believe this is him in the white and black Ferrari. So he's just going to go out a little wide in, I believe that's the Mugen corner. Have to slow it right up. So he's going to keep it on track. Just a bit of a slowdown penalty for him on that one.
That corner is probably the biggest reason that I do not have Suzuka on the Princess approved list. It's such a hard corner. It's almost like you go into it and it just like tightens up, as we see here. Kevin Gettenberg now, we saw him getting into a fight with Fozzie Fazillo earlier, and it's fair to say he overran that a little bit, but able to keep the car in check. Definitely a little bit of debris present, but all things going well so far, as Fozzie Fazillo thankfully able to avoid some damage. I am going to try and figure out why Michael Manarino's got that black flag. I don't know if you got that on your end as well though, Rob. I do understand you're using different software right now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on my end as far as a black flag for him. He's note here, we're on lap 4 now, so if he did have one, he would have got the DQ flag this time crossing the line. So I think it's probably just a little bit of an iRacing glitch here, and Manarino should be able to continue on. He's down one spot from where he qualified in 12th overall in the GT3 class, and still trying to push forward to catch Chris Rise up ahead.
Certainly, I'm going to look into that a bit more on the iRacing side in a second as well. But right now, you can see Morgan Smith looking to try and pursue Ethan Reed. Certainly, these guys have had some fun battles so far, and it is the only battle happening in the GTP field. Alberto Alvarez already pulled away a 5-second gap, but Morgan Smith definitely the jammy dodger of this series when it comes to getting podiums. At least in this one, all he has to do is finish the race to try and secure those points. But don't get me wrong, this is a good chance for him to battle for P2. It's not really going to lose anything if things should go out of whack. So certainly a good time to push, a good time to test the limits here. It's a Porsche versus Porsche battle. Can he capitalize on this opportunity?
These two drivers also, Zippy, are very close in the championship points for the GTP field. Only a few points separating the two of them, so they definitely have as much to battle for on track here as any other set of drivers on track. And being the only three of them here and they're nose to tail, it could get spicy here as the race boils on.
One thing I can confirm is that one of the admins in the session gave Michael Manarino an end-of-line penalty, so that's why he has a black flag. Interesting indeed. I will take a look through the incident reports there, Rob.
Taking a look here at Bell Gable, looks like he lost the back end of this Porsche. We've mentioned it time and time again with the rear motor set up on the Porsche. You get the pendulum effect happening into a certain corner that's going to swing around on you. And unfortunately for Bell Gable, he just felt the full effects of that. But it's like Jakob Fury trying to put some pressure on Tristan Lewis to take away 13th place from Lewis. Lewis holding on in that, I believe we've been calling it a cyberpunk themed paint job throughout the season, but Fury put some pressure in his McLaren and behind. We'll see if the McLaren can use its top speed advantage down the front straight to make a move on Tristan Lewis into turn one.
Well, I believe Dylan Newhart is taking a quick look at that report to figure out why Manarino has that black flag. Certainly there was a few incidents in the last race, but right now we've got a couple of battles going on. Michael Manarino, this is the driver in question now. He was given a qualifying ban. And Dylan, we'll give him a couple of minutes there to have a quick read of that incident report. We'll need to try and digest that. Certainly myself, not necessarily the best man at paperwork, as we see Pedro da Silva currently under attack from Kara Mills as Mills gets this done on the outside, ladies and gentlemen, and absolutely slingshots that Mustang into 5th place.
Yeah, da Silva got loose exiting out of the S's, and Kyle Mills didn't need to be asked twice to take that spot away. He just jumped at the opportunity. And now da Silva having to deal with Austin Diltz, putting a ton of pressure on the back of da Silva's Ferrari. See the varying lines out of that corner. Diltz taking a sharper, tighter angle out. Da Silva trying to run out wide, maximize his speed out of the corner. Now he's going to have to go defensive as they head into Mugen turn, or 180R, whatever the heck they want to call it this week. But da Silva holding him off well. Ferrari a little more planted as we see. I believe that's Tristan Lewis off into the wall there just up ahead. Let's see what happened to him. He was trying to hold off Jakob Fury, but I think he just lost the back end in here. Oh, he gets a little help from Fury as he got loose. Not much Fury could do there as Lewis just got up on the curve. The back end of that Corvette got loose. Into the wall he went, and then he had to sit idle as the battle of Mills, Diltz, and da Silva moved on by.
Well, some alarming news. It looks like Michael Manarino has been disqualified, so something is maybe not gone quite to plan in the organisation of that. I'm not quite sure. But Dylan, what did you find out from that incident report?
So it does look like from the race before in Road America that Michael did wreck someone on accident or on purpose. I'm not 100% sure. I did not watch it personally, so. But it does look like he did have a qualifying ban, and it did seem like he did not abide by that ban. So that might be the reason for the black flag this week.
Well, certainly one thing you can never argue with is race stewards. Certainly locally, I can think of a particular race steward, and her briefing. The first way it starts is "Don't be a," and I give you a clue. It rhymes with "lick," ladies and gentlemen. And what an absolutely fantastic policy. Certainly, it makes me smile. And race control is definitely not something you want to upset. So very much a learning experience for the 666 car, Michael Manarino. As actually, we've got a good battle happening for, I believe, P19 right now. 4 cars involved. Tristan Lewis, Matthew Sagadalo. As I say that, something's happened with Tristan Lewis. He's gone round.
Yeah, he's gone round again. That's going to allow Salgado, Gable, and Rise to get ahead. Take a quick look here at what happened to Lewis moments ago. He was leading that battle. So he's just going to lose the back end of that Corvette again tonight. So We heard that Dylan was out in the Corvette doing some laps, but doesn't seem to be a fan favorite for Tristan Lewis right now, as our drivers are stuck in their cars for the season. Tristan Lewis definitely regretting his choice of the Corvette so far here this evening.
Oh dear, as that was one of the Porsches that was actually around facing backwards. I believe that may have been Kevin Gedenberg off the top of my head. Actually, no, Bell Gable. Bell Gable.
Oh,
so you can see there he's going up with the Ferrari, gets a little bit of a nudge. Chris Rice, great dodge there by Chris Rice, always appears in the chat. Don't get me wrong, I don't understand a word of what he said this week, by all means. Konnichiwa, Subarashi, Jose, o Algato, yo, Rezu, or Shimashu. I'm hoping I haven't just said something very offensive on stream now in post-sport, but certainly Chris Rice spicing up the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
I think he just ordered about 5 plates of sushi, Zippy. I think that's what just happened there. We've got dinner for the crew afterwards.
I don't call sushi dinner, I call it undercooked fish, but there you go, you have my opinion on that. I'm not just a princess on tracks, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a fussy bugger when it comes to food as well, but we can see here this battle is starting to heighten up. Patrick Rich, he's there leading this pack. He's got Guillermo Perret, one of the newcomers to the series. He's there in 8th with Steve Susanna, applying pressure in the McLaren for 9th.
A real tight battle here. A couple Porsches going nose to nose here, with the McLaren of Susanna lurking behind. Looks like Susanna might have a little bit more speed here as the 2 Porsches go off wide. That's going to allow Susanna to try and make a move around the inside of Guillermo Perret. It's going to have the outside into the next corner. Looks like Perret's going to back off, duck in behind Susanna, relinquish that position. Oh, they're going to go side by side again. I thought Perret was backing out, but it looks like Susanna had to kind of breathe the throttle as he got up on the curbing. We saw what happened earlier to Tristan Lewis when he got on the curbing. So Susanna rightly backs out to avoid bottoming out and flat spinning that car. So next up, he's going to try and run down Patrick Rich up ahead, but Rich putting in some quick laps. Right now, his quickest lap is about 0.2 faster than Steve Susanna. So we'll see if Rich is able to keep that pace down and pull ahead from Susanna as our leader, Alberto Alvarez, start making his way through this battle. Oh, and he tags the back of Susanna. That was not what we were talking about early on, Zippy, as how the GTPs were going to navigate the GT3 field.
Well, certainly there was some interesting discussion regarding passing lap traffic and stuff like that, and I got to be honest, maybe we'll check a replay of that. It did look pretty cut and dried from where I'm sat. I think I know which way I would swing that one. Certainly we are not the stewarding department, but Rob, what would be your thoughts on that one?
Let me see if I can get a onboard shot here from Alberto Alvarez. That might actually give us a little bit of an idea here. So we had the inside, didn't quite have enough overlap, I'd say, to really give him rights to the corner. So if I was a steward, I'd probably say that was on Alberto. He's not really battling anybody. There was no need to try and dive up underneath. He's got, I believe, about 10 seconds or more on the battle for P2. So I would lean that way. But again, thankfully, we're not stewards. We don't have to deal with that. We just have to sit here and judge from the booth.
Oh yeah, that is one of the perks. Certainly, we've seen me take to the racetrack a few times recently to absolutely astounding failure. Certainly not success. Actually, Dylan Newhart, one of the more potent drivers to come in this booth. If you don't count Rob Campbell, he is certainly Rob rocking that 3300 I rating, despite being a little bit of a bell end at times. He has actually got some driving talent. But we actually got a battle happening actually for the P2 fight between Ethan Reed and Morgan Smith. Morgan Smith has got that gap down to 0.3 of a second, so I think that the lap traffic may be coming into play.
Yeah, Morgan utilizing the lap traffic here now that they've caught up. Put some pressure on the back of Ethan Reed. They got Patrick Rich just up ahead. They're going to catch him in an unfortunate spot where they couldn't really dive underneath him here, and they're really going to have to wait for they get back on the throttle. That's going to play in perfectly for Morgan Smith to close that gap on E3. Now it's a matter of seeing if Morgan Smith can find a way around Ethan Reed. We're still early on in this one, Zippy, just hitting the 16-minute mark now of this 45-minute race, so still plenty of time for these two to battle it out and see who can actually close that points battle in the championship standings.
Well, I know, Rob, you definitely got a little bit of time in these GTP cars. How effectively can you fuel save in these vehicles?
They're actually very good in fuel saving, Zippy. We're running in open setups in this field, so they can actually adjust the MGU to go from balance mode to attack mode to quality mode and so forth. So right now, there wouldn't really be much fuel savings going on right now. It's going to be pressure from Morgan Smith and Ethan Reed. But Alberto Alvarez out front definitely could click it down into a recovery mode and really kind of save up his energy the best he can for later on in the race, say if these two capture. But right now, Morgan Smith could actually take and click it into attack mode if he wanted to try and close the gap on Ethan Reed, although iRacing doesn't technically deploy the MGU properly, where it really shouldn't give you much of a boost in power, but it can actually do it in iRacing the way it's set up now. So Morgan Reed could potentially have it in attack mode, and that's what allowed him to close in on Ethan Reed. So we'll see if he keeps it there or puts it back into balance mode and regenerates the electricity hybrid system under the braking.
Certainly, I know that is a little bit of a bugbear for you, as it looks like we've got a new beach opening up at that right-hander there, but there is battles happening throughout, and it looks like we've got another one happening back for P4 in the GT3 field. It involves Kyle Mills, Austin Hills, and indeed Pedro da Silva, so certainly a good battle going here. Actually, Pedro da Silva, another one who started very strong in this series, but currently the two WBM drivers are leading. Kyle Mills certainly our resident American icon, ladies and gentlemen. He's doing a great job there in P4. It's definitely improved his driving certainly throughout the time, and I believe he's actually he's been making himself a new steering wheel as well. So certainly definitely getting more and more into the sim. You see Austin Tilts there really working the wheel, trying to get a nice clean exit and stay very much in contention there with the 305 car.
Yeah, a little bit of steering correction there to gather up the back end. But now he's trying to charge forward that Mustang. Those two cars, the McLaren and the Mustang, generally the quickest in the GT3 category in a straight line. So see them starting to pull out a little bit from Pedro da Silva, working together in the draft, pull ahead not only of their teammates as well there too, Zippy. So definitely they're not going to try and force a mistake from driver ahead until we get to the end and papaya rules go out the window.
Yes, certainly. You know, it's all very good having team tactics as well, but certainly, you know what, you want to have a race for fun, as you see here. That's certainly what Michael Morbeto is doing. The lazy rebel. I don't know about that. He's certainly he's leading pretty tightly at the minute. He's had it since the start. He's managed to hold on to that position and currently maintaining that. But Daniel Pino very much keeping him honest, but we know that Pino is an absolute hot shot on fuel strategy. Malik Bass, he's there in third, he's staying in contention, but we should probably give a quick shout out actually to the number 20 car of Jakob Fury. Now, we've seen this over and over again with Fury. He is very much not one for setting a quick qualifying time, but when it comes down to racecraft, he really shifts. Currently up 9 positions since the start.
Yeah, well done by Cobb. Like you said, we see it week in, week out, where he starts at the back of the pack and slowly works his way through. A little bit of an incident earlier on that he couldn't really do much about with Tristan Lewis, but Steve Susanna up ahead. Jakob Fury ran a 2:01.7 last time by to Susanna 2:01.9, so a little quicker lap time for Fury. That shows why he's closing in that gap. Trying to get Steve Susanna to start to drive out of his rearview mirrors is through that sector there. Fury took about 3/10 off that gap with Susanna. He's going to definitely be in the draft here now. He'll be able to utilize it as they exit out of the next corner, potentially making a move here shortly for Jakob Fury to get himself that even 10 spots plus on the day.
Yeah, it is looking like Fury will be able to make a move either after 130 or in the spoon. Maybe not quite in the spoon. He's a little bit far back here. Does look like he's going a little bit wide, maybe trying to set up this exit for a longer run. And while staying in the draft, he is going to close that gap coming into 130 yard here.
Yeah, Fury not quite close enough to get a move done here. Unfortunately, the last sector not necessarily the best for him. Susanna kind of shone there, but Dylan, have you raced Suzuka much in the GT3 cars other than the few laps you did earlier today?
No, I have not. I'm actually very inexperienced in GT3s around Suzuka. I have done a couple things in different sim, just in like street cars, but in GT3s it was a whole different track to get a handle of.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tracks where it's got a whole different feel if you're in a GT machine compared to an open wheel machine. It's very common in, I would say, pretty much all the open wheel cars in iRacing, especially this section. We have these two drivers heading through here, the S's, where in an open wheel car, you're taking most of these corners almost flat out. Where the GT cars, some of these corners are actually having to trail brake, breathe the throttle a little bit. Here, Fury really getting out of the throttle, waiting for the front end of the car come around before he can get back into the throttle and try and chase down Steve Susanna again. And we see Fury going out wide onto the grass. That's definitely going to cost him a ton of time in his chase for Susanna, but it's definitely interesting to see the various driving styles between the two classes, two different types of cars, sorry, in iRacing at a track like this. Another one I can think of off the top of my head is Coda. It's another track that drives very different in open wheel cars than it does in GT machinery, but our driver's doing well out here this evening.
Yeah, that is for sure. I could definitely see the different types of cars coming into play versus all the mid-engine cars are trying to struggle with grip up through those S's, while the more planted front engine cars seem to be more okay, or more planted rather in those corners. But then they do start to lose time when it comes to these faster corners that require a little bit more rotation, a little bit harder on the trail braking.
Yeah, no doubt. This battle for top 3 steps on the podium pretty much been raging on since the start of the race. Nobody's really made any moves here. They're all right where they qualified. I'm starting to wonder right now if Malik Bass might be trying to save fuel here in third. He hasn't really pushed the pressure envelope here much. Same with Pino as well. Pino, we saw at the beginning of the season, was a excellent fuel saver. He actually won a couple races just based on fuel saving over Pedro da Silva. So we've seen his prowess as far as fuel saving as we see him trying to look into the inside of Mike Borbetto there, but didn't really try to pressure the move, just trying to force a mistake. But we just need to see once the pit stop cycles come around, see if either one of these drivers has been able to save a little bit of fuel over Michael Borbetto up ahead.
Well, certainly is indeed another tactic that you can use, especially when you know that there's a pit stop involved. Certainly when it comes to things like a 24-hour race, you're generally going to run it all the way out. The undercut is not beneficial. You need to get as many laps out of that tank as you can. And it's don't get me wrong, you can try and extend that range, as we see here. A couple of drivers coming in. That's Fozzie Fazillo in the 61, that McLaren with the beautiful bronze wheels. And not only that, Joseph Kronk as well in the 166 Ferrari, the Michigan driver, making an appearance. You see there, Morgan Smith very much still very much staying with the 22 of Ethan Reed. Wayne Hutto again not present. Those two teammates, both from Texas drivers, I believe. Only one of them present today actually as well. A couple of drivers missing here from the GTP field as well, but certainly some interesting battles going on as you see that lead pack fighting. But it looks like Patrick Rich is currently under attack as well from Guillermo Perez. These two guys just a tenth of a second in it, Porsche versus Porsche, as they're going side by side into the left-hander, the 18 versus the 52. Who is going to emerge victorious? I've got to say, Patrick Rich, very professional looking paint on that, but I've got to admit, actually come to think of it, I've not seen Patrick Starr here on track today.
No, I'm trying to remember who was driving Patrick Starr off the top of my head. But yeah, no Patrick Starr out here tonight. We're just have to settle with Patrick Rich and Guillermo Perez with the Super Mario Brothers paint theme. That's actually a banger of a paint there, Zippy. It's classic Mario. Maybe you can throw some shells at Patrick Rich up ahead, or some Koopa. Oh, as we see Guillermo Perez going to come in to service his vehicle. Patrick Rich going to stay out and run another lap.
I couldn't even take that seriously, I'm sorry. But as you see here, Kyle Mills very much, I say under attack, or is he being sandbagged here? It's hard to say, but Austin Delt's very much having a good sniff of the back of that Mustang, and I don't think it's just because it's a race car. It could be because it's a horse. It could be because it's Kyle. Certainly the WBM guys are always up for a good bit of banter, but you can see there Pedro da Silva very much staying in the mix, and these guys are lapping pretty consistently at the minute. You know, you can see these guys very much together, and a good collection of iRating as well. So Kyle Mills, the leader of that pack, with approximately 1900, Austin Dilt's 2800, and Pedro da Silva with 3700. So an interesting mix indeed. Certainly the lower iRating driver you would expect to be at the back of that pack, but Kyle Mills absolutely turning up the heat today.
I think we can just officially classify Kyle Mills as a sandbagger, Zippy. But yeah, this battle continues on for fourth place in the GT3 field. Kyle Mills up 4 spots from the day, so strong showing right now for him. Out of these 3 cars in this battle, he does have the slowest quick lap of the time of the race so far, with Diltz with a 2:01.19, Silva with a 2:01.29, and Mills with a 2:01.32. So all very close on best times out here, but Malik Bass right now leading the field with quickest time with a 2:96 up in third spot.
Yeah, definitely one of the longer tracks on the circuit, and a lot of full throttle sections as well. Are we going to see some of these guys pit soon? I'm not too sure. Certainly, the GTPs are yet to grace the pits. As it looked like Ethan Reed was going to go for a move there into the left-hander, not quite close enough, but certainly Ethan Reed very aware of that 58 Porsche GTP car right behind him, filling them mirrors. And I gotta say, what an absolutely fantastic view. Don't get me wrong, Morgan Smith does have a sexy beard, but in this case, I do indeed mean the car.
Yeah, Morgan putting a ton of pressure on the back of Ethan Reed. These two, once they've got closed up, working through the traffic zippy, Morgan's been able to hang with Ethan Reed. I'm not sure if Morgan was kind of laying back, saving some fuel earlier, but he's been our man of consistency throughout this season. He's not had the overall quickest laps of any of the races, but he's been very consistent with his lap time, almost within a couple tenths every time by, and that's been very well for him. It's worked out towards the end of the race where he's found his way up through the front, just based off wrecks and carnage and just sheer consistency as he's going to pop in, get a little fuel, keep the tires on it, and see where he pops back out once Ethan Reed cycles through.
Certainly, one thing I can suggest is definitely do not get a pit lane speeding penalty. I can definitely verify that, and I know Rob will very much take amusement in me mentioning that. I can already hear him giggling in the background like a little girl. But certainly right now, Daniel Pino, I wonder if he's going to be giggling. He's been saving fuel behind the 54 of Michael Morbedo all race, and it is indeed as Malik Bass, who's in the 191 Chevrolet Corvette. Certainly all of these guys have been sticking together, and they pulled away an incredible 7-second lead, sometimes an 8-second lead over fourth place, which is Kyle Mills in that 305 machine. But I do wonder who's going to be the first to take to the pits. Certainly, if I was Pino, I would be staying behind Morbedo as long as possible and then go for the slinger shot through pit lane. Certainly, if I was Malik Base, I would try and pick one of these cars to follow. I definitely don't think I'd be going for the undercut at this point.
Yeah, I think I would try and stay in draft if at all possible, and try and come in with the two cars ahead of you. See Morbedo doing a little bit of a serpentine on the front straight, trying to break the draft of Daniel Pino in behind, trying to force him to use up a little more fuel than he wants to. But the Mercedes, not necessarily known as a great machine as far as fuel savings. It's usually one of the more thirstier GT3s, along with the Mustang and the McLaren. They're not overly great on fuel consumption, where the Porsche and the Corvette are a couple of the better cars on fuel consumption. So we'll see how that plays out too, as well as Zippy, once they cycle through the pit stop, because they're all limited to the same percentage of fuel for the race. It's just a matter of which car drinks a little bit more.
Well, certainly, if John Daly was driving it, I do believe it'd already be absolutely wasted at this point. But one thing that I can think that did definitely drink like that was the Ford GT3. Certainly a very fun, very challenging car to drive, but I do miss it. Certainly, I like to take the car that nobody else does, just to be a little bit different. And if I'm going to suck, I might as well suck in style, ladies and gentlemen. But he's returned to the battle here with Pedro da Silva. He's currently tailing Austin Dillon, Kyle Mills leading that pack as well. I do believe these guys are all playing a high-speed game of fuel roulette at this point. It doesn't get me wrong, it's a valid technique, but these guys will have to make a pit stop. And actually, as I have a look, Ethan Reed and Morgan Smith both in the pits right now.
Yeah, Morgan came in the lap before, so we'll see. There goes Morgan now. So Morgan has jumped Ethan Reed through pits substantially quicker than Ethan Reed through pit cycle. So let's take a quick look here and see what their stop time was. Ethan Reed almost 3 seconds longer in his pit stall than Morgan Smith. So hopefully Morgan's taking enough fuel to get him to the end, but excellent pit strategy right now has got Morgan Smith up into second spot ahead of Ethan Reed.
Yeah, certainly. Not only that, the gap he's got, indeed, it's about 2.5 seconds as we're keeping an eye on these guys for the lead of the GT3 field. Are we going to see one of these guys head into the pits? As it does appear to be getting a little bit darker here. Maybe we should check in on the time. Maybe it's just a little bit overcast as well. Something getting a little bit gloomy here at Suzuka as we have a look. It's about 4 in the afternoon, so definitely a little bit overcast. The sun very much hiding behind the clouds at this point. But I got to say, Dylan, certainly, it's been a challenging race so far. You said that you probably wouldn't have wanted to go in the vet, but tell us a little bit, would you be trying to go for an undercut here, or would you try and push that tank to the end?
If I was in the draft, I would definitely just put with the cars in front, just because the draft is so strong here with all the full throttle time. But if I thought I was stuck and just couldn't get around, I would definitely try and undercut and just try and jump through the pit lane here.
Oh, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Dylan's thoughts on the pit strategy there. Myself, actually, that's a little bit damaged there on the front of the 211 911 of Chris Rice. I don't know if you guys are seeing that as well, but right now he's in hot pursuit of Javi Sierra. So these guys had some fun battles. Then we have the Super Mario car. Guillermo Perret looking to get in that battle. So we've got a three-way fight right now, and all three of these drivers have indeed pit, but I do have some interesting numbers showing up on my end. It tells me that Guillermo Perret pit for 15.4 seconds. Apparently, Javi Sierra was 6.1. As you see, Perret take a little bit of a scenic route. Rob, I don't know what you're getting on your side for the timing, but I'm seeing some very interesting numbers with the GT3 pits.
GT3, yeah, I'm seeing, looks like Guillermo Perret, sorry, it's T. Susanna, a little bit longer than the rest of the cars that have pit so far, even Fozzie Fazil and Joseph Gronk. I'm wondering if some drivers had to come in zippy and possibly serve a speeding penalty while they were in, or possibly took front tires. But Javi Sierra, Chris Rise, 6.2 seconds in the stall for Javi Sierra, 4.8 for Chris Rise. So it'll be interesting to see. The GT3 cars shouldn't need a whole lot of fuel. For the most part, they're sip very lightly. The GTPs a little longer in the pit stall. They use up a little more fuel a little quicker. So no surprise we're seeing 10-second stop times for Alberto Alvarez and Morgan Smith, and then the 13-second time for Ethan Reed. But we still have, looks like the better part of the top 10 of the GT3 field to come in and service their cars. So we'll have to see how their cycle times work out for the 10 of them, and see if they're somewhere in line with Javi Sierra, Chris Rise, if they're more in the Fozzie Fazillo, Joseph Gronk 22nd time.
You can see here these Porsches are going side by side, and it is indeed going to be a battle of the booties here. Actually, we've got 4 Porsches in the shot now. You've got 2 LMP hybrids in it as well. And this is bad news for Ethan Reed, because if these guys keep going side by side, as he's going to try and thread the needle, that almost ended in chaos. Certainly, he's motivated to try and get through. Just don't want to get held up behind those GT3s. But we do actually have what I believe is Michael Menarino in the chat. He is not happy with the way that race control has come down. I think I see what's happened, but ladies and gentlemen, very politely put, if you have an issue with the way a league is run, you need to speak to that league. You do not need to put it in our broadcast chat. It is nothing to do with us. We are here to produce the show you the highlights, get into the racing, not administer the league. So ladies and gentlemen, a friendly public service reminder, that is your warning. Any more incidents like that, and you will be escorted out the door.
And we see this battle still going on between Austin Diltz and Kyle Mills for 4th in GT3. I think Diltz might have a little more pace, but right now he's just kind of willing to work with his teammate Kyle Mills. We saw it early on in the season, Zippy, where it was Malik Bass and Kyle Mills who were always kind of linked up together on track, working together. Right now, Malik Bass sitting in 3rd place, 8 seconds up of Kyle Mills. So the two of them can't work together. He's having to work with his other teammate, Austin Diltz. It looks like Diltz really pushing the pace here now, with the Mills trying to get the two of them going and starting to pull away from Javi Sierra, or Pedro de Silva, sorry, as Silva a little quicker through that last section in the Ferrari, able to close that gap up on Diltz. Diltz going to come in for his service. Kyle Mills going to stay out for another lap. Interesting strategy here. We mentioned earlier, probably best to come in with a draft partner, but Mills going to go it alone this time, try and hold off de Silva for one more lap.
Well, you got to wonder as well, is De Silva further enough away that he will be out the draft to effectively gain from that? As you see there, that's still set in the pits, as we also saw a couple of drivers there having a little bit of a pit stop as well. Malik Bass currently there in 2nd place, as Michael Morbedo, that was your race leader, took to the pits as well. I can tell you that his pit stop time is one of the quickest I've seen. Actually, the only person I've seen quicker than him was Chris Rise, actually, in a 211. He did a 4.6 second stop in the pits. The next closest is indeed the 54 of Michael Morbedo with a 5.9. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Certainly Morbedo, it's a good number, but he has been leading the race for the majority. I have a feeling that Pino and Bass will be even quicker again.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see Pino and Bass in this time by, as we're just under 10 minutes to go. They've got to be nearing the end of the fuel tank here, but our battle in GTP starting to close up a little bit again. Morgan Smith was able to open up a 3-second gap over Ethan Reed. The last couple laps by, Ethan Reed's been able to close that gap down to 2.7 seconds now, as Morgan Smith having to work through the lap traffic of Matthew Salgado up ahead. That's going to cost Smith a couple tenths there, as Salgado ducks a couple tires off track. Smith had to actually bail out of the throttle a little bit, gather himself back up, and that's going to allow Ethan Reed try and close that gap. But Ethan Reed now having to deal with Austin Diltz and Matthew Salgado.
I gotta say, I do feel for the 22 car. He's definitely not met traffic at the opportune moment. Morgan Smith having that jammy dodger effect is still very much going well for him. I do want to keep an eye on Malik Bass, though, just to see if he's going to bring it down pit lane. No, he's still going, ladies and gentlemen. Not only that, he is snuck into first. So I do wonder, has Pino very tactically done this? Has he let Bass go by? We'll have to take a look at the replay and find out exactly what happened. So there's Malik. He's there. He's in second. Gets a good run. Yeah, I think Pino definitely lifted off for that. That was just way too cut and shut. Right back on the gas. I think Pino is playing the fuel game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like a little bit of a lift and coast, let him go by, but we can probably actually even go on board here, Zippy, in here.
I don't think I'm going to hear it on my side, Rob, so by all means, talk us through it.
Yeah, Pino definitely lifted, but it could have been just a matter of him conceding that Bass had the run on the outside and not trying to force something into Casio corner and possibly causing an incident between the two of them. But as it looks like Pino's fallen back off the back of Bass, so if he was trying to save fuel, he's in danger of falling out of the draft at 0.7 seconds back, the draft only being 8/10 on the GT3 cars. And there it goes. Malik Bass is now opening that up to 8/10. So Daniel Pino now out of the draft of Malik Bass.
We're going to be interested to see how that works out, as something's happened with Tristan Lewis. I believe he had an incident, got black flagged, and now has a meatball flag as well. Dylan, talk us through what just happened here.
So it looks like he gets a little loose on exit, spins it around, takes it in the wall, and then backs it back in. I think the backing it back in is what's got the meatball there. I think the tap on the front was just a little bit of aero damage, but that was a hard hit on the back.
Yeah, I'm going to be inclined to agree with that. It does appear that the rear end of that Corvette is more closely resembled by Bonnie Blue, but I believe, Rob, I think you're going to tell me something's happened to Michael Morbedo.
It has. Our leader, it looks like Tristan Lewis, actually, and Morbedo might have got caught up on something here. So Tristan Lewis back on track. Oh, Kevin Getterberg, then Mike Morbedo. Oh, the stewards are not going to look kindly on that, Zippy, at all. Tristan Lewis driving a wounded car. Unfortunately takes out Kevin Gettenberg as he was trying to navigate by, and that shot Lewis across the track into our race leader, Michael Morbedo.
Yeah, certainly he was the only one of the lead GT3s to have in pit. So I think that's pretty much ruined the race there for Morbedo. He's not going to be happy with that, and certainly the stewards will no doubt have some words to say in terms of that action. For sure. We're going to take another quick look at it here. So here's Tristan Lewis. There's he go. There's the onboard shot from Morbedo. Absolutely nothing he can do. Certainly, if you get a damaged car, it does beg the belief, can you get it back to the pits safely? If the answer is not 100% yes, then you do need to be pulling over and towing that car, especially when it comes to other competitors involved and stuff like that, because that's literally just compromised two people's races there. But realistically, I don't really think Tristan Lewis was in the running or having a battle at that point. You already know that you're going to be taking a repair. Just do the decent thing and tow the car. Sorry to, rain down on the guy, but definitely a learning moment, which I'm sure the stewards will be very quick to educate on, as we see. Matching settler.
Dueling spins by Kevin Gettenberg and Bernardo Drogomiller. I'm not sure if... Oh, no!
Oh, dear.
Fozzie Fazzillo was probably a code brown moment for Fozzie Fazzillo working his way through there, but I don't know if they could have choreographed that any better, Drogomiller and Gettenberg, with the little bit of a Cirque du Soleil spin action there.
As we rejoin the leader, you can see here that Malik Bass has pulled away an even bigger lead of 1.7 seconds. So we're checking in with Morgan Smith. That gap originally when Ethan Reed came out the pits was 2.4 seconds. He's had it as high as 2.9, but currently resting about 2.2. So over the next 4 minutes, can Ethan Reed catch up? If I have a look at the last lap, Ethan Reed was indeed quicker by about 1.2 seconds, but again, can be very hard to judge because of the traffic. Certainly if you meet traffic at the wrong time, which pretty much is what Ethan Reed has had so far, it can very much compromise your lap time. But right now he's in clean air. You got Morgan Smith making a pass there, and he's going to have a couple of GT3 cars in the path as they go through this very technical part of the section.
Yeah, we haven't seen... I'm just looking at timing and scoring here, Zippy. We haven't seen any of our top 4 GT3 cars come in for service yet. Malik Bass, Daniel Pino, Pedro Da Silva, and Jakob Fury all still yet to service their car with only 3.5 minutes to go in this one. I don't think they have enough fuel that they can make it to the end. This could be a last lap little squirt and go for our leaders in GT3. We'll have to see how that works out here with time ticking away.
Well, that makes me wonder another question as well. Maybe this is something you can find in the rules there, Dylan. Have a look around that Discord, see if you can find something. But while they do indeed have limited fuel tanks, do they actually have to pit? Now, I'm starting to wonder. We know Pino, he didn't even try and put up a fight against Malik Bass. So is he going to try and force it that he does indeed make 0 stops this race? That's certainly another way of doing it. Definitely not one that I would do without some practice, but don't get me wrong, these guys are at the level where some of these guys will definitely be putting in practice laps, and you got to wonder, is the High Point racing car, is it going to indeed be able to bring it over without visiting pit lane?
Yeah, he's fallen almost 3 seconds back of Malik Bass now. So last lap by 202.25 for Daniel Pino. That is a good 1.5 to almost 2 seconds off the pace for the race. So I think he's actually trying to make the checker flag, Zippy, without having a pit stop here.
Well, certainly remains to wait and see. By all means, Dylan, let us know if you do find something in the rules. Certainly myself, not very good at looking through that stuff. And, you know, this is where you almost wish that you had race control on the side. Certainly we've done some shows before, as Malik Bass is bringing it to pit road there. And Pino continues to go around. Is he going to try and do this in one shot?
Let's see. We don't see a white flag out yet, so we're at least going to have 2 more laps here. So it'll be interesting to see if Pino's got enough fuel to make it around. But the strategy plot thickens here, Zippy. But what also thickens is Ethan Reed now has that gap between he and Morgan Smith down to 1.7 seconds in the battle for second spot in GTP.
Certainly there's still a couple of laps to... what is it, Rob?
Reed got squirrely heading out of the S's there, had to gather it back up. That's cost him a full second off Morgan Smith. So I think if there was any chance of Ethan Reed chasing down Morgan Smith, it might have just went out the window there with that Code Brown moment that he had to gather himself up. That should give Morgan Smith enough of a gap for another lap and a half to be able to hold off the charge of Ethan Reed.
Well, certainly. Let's give a quick shout out to the WBM merchandise. Ladies and gentlemen, certainly... in terms of merch quality, it is an absolutely sublime. Certainly, we've seen good things from the members, and not only that, Morgan literally takes the money and puts it straight back into the team as well. He's not looking to, you know, get rich off this or by any means. And certainly, if you're going to do it with merchandise, you need to sell a lot of it to do so, ladies and gentlemen. But incredibly high quality merchandise. Certainly, power to him for actually investing and setting that up as well. The team members very much a fan. I believe they have sweatshirts, hoodies. They've even got sweatpants as well. They've got hats, and fair play to them. It looks like some quality gear. Certainly, if we do anything, I think we're going to have Code Brown merchandise, which you can usually imagine. You know, maybe not the most desirable sportswear on the planet.
Yeah, it does not look like there's anything against not having a pit stop. I've been looking at the rules, so if Pino can pull this off, that would be like a strategy masterclass.
Yeah, he's going to get the white flag here as they head by, as Barney was waving it as
he's going for it.
Morgan Smith and Ethan Reed went by. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got the fuel. Let's see what kind of lap time he puts in that time by. 2:03.3. So that's going to put him, he's 17 seconds ahead of Pedro da Silva in second place. We haven't seen da Silva in for fuel either. So the two of them pushing the limit here, going to try and take it to the end. I don't suspect da Silva will to hold off Malik Bass, who did pit. So Malik Bass right now will be pedaled down the whole way, where da Silva's going to have to be saving. But right now, if Pino can make it to the line, 17 seconds up on da Silva and Bass, he'll be able to take the checkered flag here. But we're going to see Malik Bass move around Pedro da Silva in a matter of moments.
Well, certainly it is a very high-risk strategy, but let's check in very quickly, see exactly what happened to Patrick Rich. Now, he was having a battle there with Guillermo Perez, the 52 car, and I believe something went horribly wrong for him on lap 22. So here you go. These guys are having a bit of a battle. Here's Patrick Rich. Goes a little bit wide, gets hooked up, and I think... I don't think it was intentional by any means, but he just gets a little bit hooked and definitely compromised his race as he chops back through the field.
Yeah, I think that was just a matter of... Rich had to back out of the throttle up on the curbing there, and there's not much Guillermo Perez could have done at that point in time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Alberto Alvarez has just indeed taken the checkered flag. Something the flag man is again on strike here. Oh no, he's there. He's
He's
just
there.
very well hidden. As you see, Morgan Smith there, he pulled away over a 10-second gap to Ethan Reed. So something definitely went wrong for the 22 car. As now Fossey Fazillo applying pressure there to the GTP. He don't care. He'll have a crack at you anyway. But let's check in very quickly with Malik Bass because he's currently going into that battle there. Is this exactly what happened to Ethan Reed there, Rob?
Yeah, this is what happened to Ethan Reed heading into turn one. Just going to lose the back end of that Porsche. Fortunate for him, but we'll catch back up on Malik Bass trying to make a move around De Silva. He caught him, and he hasn't been able to make his move around De Silva. I thought with the fuel saving De Silva was going to have to do, he's going to have to back out enough that Bass could get by, but right now he's going to hold on to it. It's just up ahead. Daniel Pino heading into the final corner. He's did it, Zippy. He's made it around without having to fuel.
I gotta say, fair play to the guy. That is a incredible test of discipline now. But we're gonna check back in for the battle for P2. And I gotta say, I feel for Malik. I think he had the fuel-saving plan from the start. Gets a little bit loose there as he go over the curve, and I think Pedro da Silva is gonna indeed pull it off. Fair play to him. Absolutely phenomenal racecraft technique when it comes to fuel saving. Definitely not something I can do. But da Silva absolutely slingshots up, and Snake's second place. Definitely did not see that coming until the very end. Malik Best 3 tenths back. Austin Diltz, he able to take fifth there. Kyle Mills took fourth. But let's give a huge shout out to this guy right now. Ladies and gentlemen, your Carl Fury up 13 positions, ladies and gentlemen, in that number 20 McLaren.
Yeah, well done by Fury. We mentioned it before. He moves through the field during the race. He did it once again now inside the top 10, holding off Javi Sierra. Guillermo Pere going to bring it home in 11th. Steve Susanna not too far back with Chris Rise in tow. Then looks like Patrick Rich is going to be our final car on the lead lap for the GT3 field with a whole bunch of damage on the front and a bunch of damage on the back of that Porsche.
It does appear that car was beaten hard and put away wet, ladies and gentlemen. And that's just the nature of racing at times. But what an absolutely fantastic race. Certainly pit strategy was indeed a huge part of it here at Suzuka.
Yeah, no doubt. There we see our results in the GTP field. Alberto Alvarez brings it home, top spot. Morgan Smith holds off Ethan Reed for second spot. Ethan Reed taking the final step on the podium.
And I believe Dylan has got the GT3 results as well.
Yeah, so winning our race with the impeccable pit strategy was Daniel Pino, and second was Pedro da Silva, also with that same pit strategy. Right on hot on his tail was Malik Bass, with Kyle Mills in fourth, Austin Diltz in fifth, rounding out the top five.
As we have a look now in P6 with Jacob Fury with Javi Sierra there in seventh. Certainly Javi Sierra always getting in a good battle. Fair play to him. Guillermo Pere in that Mario Brothers car. He was in P8. Steve Susanna in P9. Chris Rise always gracing us with his presence in the chat, closing out the top 10. Patrick Rich, we saw him at the end get a little bit loose, unlucky there. He was in 11th for Fozzie Fazillo in 12th. Michael Morbedo definitely got caught up in that incident with Tristan Lewis. That will definitely get reviewed there by the I just read our production chat. I can't say that on stream. Michael Morbedo getting caught up in that incident there with Joseph Kronk in 14th. Bernardo Drogmuller, he's there in 15th with Kevin Gettenberg. That's a 7-up 9-11, ladies and gentlemen. In 16th with Matthew Salgado making a debut appearance in 17th. Bell Gable took 18th. Christian Lewis definitely getting caught up in 19th. And a very unhappy Michael Manarino closing out your field for the top 20. Let's take a quick look, Rob, and see who we can steal here for an interview. It looks like we've got Daniel Pino on standby. Rob, I believe you want to catch up with our GT3 race winner.
Yeah, boys.
Daniel Pino, welcome back to the booth. We saw you early on the start of the season being able to use your fuel saving strategy to get you a couple wins. Looks like you brought it back out of the bag again this week to snatch away a win from Malik Bass. I think probably thought he had it all wrapped up, but well done. How was your strategy from the very start? Was it something you planned to do, or is it something you just developed as the race went on?
Yeah, thank guys. It's impressive how it's not necessary be P1 to be the winner. I start P2 side by side with Michael. I let him pass. I stay behind him the whole race to save fuel because the Mercedes is very bad in slow corners. So in straight, I shortened the gap. In that moment, I save a lot of fuel, man. Putting the pressure to Michael and doing a little mistake, go a little wide in the short sector, slower sectors. I don't believe I finished the race without pitting. I just still save fuel when Michael pit. In that moment, I put every 4 year, 5 year, 6 year. I let pass Mike pass. I think he was P1. I let him pass to continue with the drafting. Then he pit, and then I go 5 years, 6 years, like the last three laps. But what an incredible race! This is the strategy. It's not like it's not necessary to race hard to try to escape from P2 or P3. It's just do the good strategy, knowing that you can. If you are if I am P1 and I'm trying to escape to Michael, that was impossible because my car is slow in short, slower corners and sectors. So this is my strategy. My mark is better in straight, so stay behind Michael and wait to the pits.
Well done, Daniel. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, thank you my team, Hypon Racing. They gave me all to practice, giving the setups. Very simple for this team. I fight hard with these WBM guys so fast. I'm so happy to be in this series. Very fast guys, drivers.
Congrats, Daniel. Best of luck to you next week at Spa. We hope to see you back up at the front again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Have a good one.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that indeed was Daniel Pino. I am trying to steal one more driver. Dylan, I hope you're ready for some interview questions, bud, because you're going to be getting lined up. I tell you what, you guys have a quick chat. I'm going to go see if I can rustle up some interviews.
While Zippy's off cracking the whip on everybody, next week we head to Spa, Dylan. What are your thoughts on Spa? I know generally most people in the racing community, sim racing community, love Spa. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. It's another track that I love to race at that just seems to hate me back. How are you feeling about Spa?
Spa is definitely on the princess approved list of mine. It's one of the few tracks I'll say. But yeah, I do really enjoy driving Spa. I always lead to some great battles with the long straight. And
do you have a preferred car
the
combo for Spa that you like to drive?
Well, I really like the Corvette around Spa. Gets the back end to come around. Not as big of a fan of the front engine cars. Just can't get the rotation out of it. So Corvette, Porsche, McLaren are all my go-tos around that track.
Excellent choices. It looks like Zippy's rounded up our bald eagle, redneck loving, beer drinking Kyle Mills. Let's see what Zippy can talk to Kyle about.
Well, certainly, Kyle, it's always a pleasure to have you here in the booth, but I'm actually going to throw it over to Dylan now to give you a bit of an interview, sir.
Hey, Kyle. It looks like Austin Dutz was putting you under a lot of pressure for most of that race, it seemed. How did, the pressure treat you throughout the race?
We were fine. Austin knew he had nothing for this American machine I was in. No, in all seriousness, Austin is a teammate. We were communicating the whole time, so all was there. All was well there. We were more concerned about trying to build a gap to the cars behind and pull each other back up to Malik. Unfortunately, we didn't pull that off, but we both had a good race, and it's starting to look like first and second didn't pit. And in the series rules, it says that you must pit. So we'll see how that looks out. It might be a P2, P3 for me and Austin.
Does it say they couldn't pit? I could not find that, but also, maybe I missed it. But who knows? It also looks like you're P4.
Yes, sir.
You guys couldn't catch up to Malik. Did you guys just not have the pace or a bad starter?
No, it was. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of behind for a little bit there. We had two cars we had to work our way through. Javi had the off track, kind of went off on his own, so we were fortunate enough with that one. But we were stuck behind Pedro for a little while. Felt like we had more pace in the car. Turns out Pedro was fuel saving, which makes sense. But from the looks of it, I don't think we're allowed to do that. So it's starting to look up for me in Austin.
Yeah, hopefully you guys get promoted if it is against the rules, but I couldn't find it, but
Absolutely.
maybe you read it a little bit closer.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's just another great showing for the Bald Eagle machine, is what it really comes down to. Especially out here in Sushi Land, we were out here whipping around, having a great time, you know. And brother, I'm just excited to move on to next week and go tear up some more foreign lands in this American-made machine I got here.
Shit. I gotta ask Kyle before we let him go. Kyle, Belgium is where Spa is located next week, and we all know French fries originated in France, but Belgium also speaks a whole lot of French. So, what are you bringing with us for a little bit of a hot take next week in Spa?
Well, I'm going to tell you something, brother. I've been to France and I didn't like it. All right, they were mean to me, and so I'm going to go in there with, again, American machinery and show them how it's done. You know, we're just throwing it back to World War II, baby. We're here to save you. We're here to spread our warmth and show you what the American way is. So that's my goals, brother.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear a screaming Mustang up the Kemmel Straight,
Absolutely.
terrorizing the French folks watching trackside.
Absolutely, brother.
So best of luck to you next week, Kyle. Hopefully you have another spectacular performance.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. You guys have a great one.
Take care.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that indeed was the Bald Eagle machine himself, Mr. Kyle Mills. Definitely does not fail to disappoint in an interview room. Certainly, we're looking to try and get him in the broadcasting booth as well, give him a tryout. Definitely, maybe need to choose which series wisely. I have a feeling he maybe won't be for everybody, but certainly here on the Envy Simsports International Sports Car Challenge, sponsored by WBM Racing. We build memories, ladies and gentlemen. He is very much appreciated and indeed enjoyed by us all. Certainly, you can probably hear us absolutely wetting ourselves in the booth. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to wrap it up for us here at Suzuka and indeed LMPH Productions for the night. And we are indeed going to be back on Saturday at 11 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have a special race for the Almeida Racing League. It is going to be the F1600 All-Stars, ladies and gentlemen. So certainly, we're not quite sure who's going to be on that show yet. Certainly, we're looking for a bit more talent, but by all means, let us know. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. From myself, Daniel Zippy Salmon, Rob the Goatee Campbell in the booth, and joining us making his debut as a pit lane commentator, Mr. Dylan Newhart. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again soon.